The hot stove came a little bit quicker than we thought, but we got to talk about this one. A reunion? Let's go.
You are Locked On Cubs, your daily Chicago Cubs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Cubs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Alongside Sam Olber, I'm Matt Cozy. Sam and I are lifelong fans, taking our passion into a discussion with you on all things Cubs. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Today's episode is all about starting pitching. We go over free agent and trade targets later while they finally need a pitcher of a different profile. And we do start with the first official rumor as free agency begins 5 days after the conclusion of the World Series. And we were so close to making it through our player review series before we entered the hot stove. We weren't quite able to get there as the Cubs were connected over the weekend to one of the best starting pitchers available this offseason. On Saturday, 670 the score, and Marquise, Bruce Levine, reported that the Cubs will pursue Dylan Cease, who posted a 4.55 ERA with 215 strikeouts in 168 innings in 2025. Cease finished second in the Cy Young in 22, fourth in 24, striking out 200-plus batters 5 years in a row, and he's never missed a start 5 years in a row. Sam, this is an exciting first hot stove connection for our team.
And I think it's one where, for example, there was one last week, where John Heyman mentioned Schwarber with the Cubs, but it didn't feel like there was real steam attached to that. This feels very legit because my mind, when I first read this on the early stages of Saturday morning, was when my mind straight went to the rumors with like Suzuki and the Padres. Remember that last year?
Yes,
I think
I
the
do.
Cubs were pretty close to acquiring Cease last year. Obviously, the connection of him being a Cubs farmhand, and to be honest with you, as you've talked about, I think he pitched himself into a negotiable sort of deal for the Cubs. The Cubs aren't going to spend a lot, and he didn't really pitch that well this year. And I don't think he's going to get, in the high ones or something like that. So now all of a sudden you're starting to talk maybe in the Cubs price range, which is sad to say, but true. And we have to just acknowledge that. And then as you mentioned, it makes sense from a fit standpoint, as we'll talk about, because, I still believe in, you want to have guys that complement each other, and nobody would complement this rotation more than a guy that is just a high strikeout, high whiff guy. I think it's pretty exciting. I think it's an exciting rumor. I was actually surprised that I got enjoyment off of this enough to text you, because I would guess that pre-Halloween, I'd still be kind of upset about the loss to Milwaukee and still kind of just be in sad
How
mode.
is that going?
Yeah, I'm kind of just, okay. Like I've kind of labeled 25, as like a, hopefully a stepping stone, as Dansby was kind of talking about in his Instagram post today that I reposted. And then now it's like, okay, well, how can we take the next step? So it's exciting to talk about, rumors like this. And I do think that this type of deal would complete one of the 3 or 4 best starting rotations in all of baseball.
Well, that's a little nugget right there at the end.
Yeah.
Because they weren't even close to that this past year.
Yeah, I do think that.
And so I definitely want to follow up on that before we get out of here in the
Please.
27 to 33 minutes. But I'm excited about this because even though we still have a few players to review, you always do kind of peer towards the future. You want to turn the page. I've been content with And I don't know if I would call it a celebration, but definitely reviewing, recapping, and at times celebratory tone-ish, of the 25 campaign. But this team does have a big opportunity. And if that's what Swanson alluded to pre-Halloween, I'm glad that's where his mind is. I'm not surprised he would be the guy to do that. But this is a clear window of opportunity that they have. And so a name like Dylan Cease should come up. And I do believe the familiarity with the Cubs organization after getting drafted by them, over a decade ago now, I think it matters a little bit. I think the Cubs' familiarity and success with Scott Boras clients, albeit maybe begrudgingly, it helps here too. But I do go back to the dollars and cents of it. And we're going to get into fit. We're going to get into who else fits this team because there's actually quite a few good names, which is encouraging. But with Cease turning 30 in December, you look at other 30-year-olds, Sam, who performed similar to him when they were free agents.
Mm-hmm.
They received big deals.
Yeah.
And I understand Cease had a 4.55 ERA last year, but do you think the Mets care about that? Do you think the Giants, do you think the Phillies, who might replace Suarez with Cease, the Astros might replace Valdez with Cease? Corbin Burns, 6 for 210.
Wow.
Fried, 8 for 218. That was last winter. 2 winters ago, Glasnow, 5 for 137. Nola, 7 for 172. I can't sit here and tell you the Cubs go to that length for a starting pitcher, but it's fun to think about.
You make a great case. Let me start with just following up on Swanson because I don't want to. I feel like I led you in a different place than he did. He celebrated the year very much so, but then just talked at the end. Just said, "Hey, many more things to be written or whatever." So it's very similar to yours.
That's right. That's on brand for this team, though. That their window is open to win and win big.
You make a great case with those names. You really do. And it's hard to argue against it. I guess if I had to say, hey, here's why the Cubs could get him, is I think because of the inconsistencies, maybe Cease is a little bit closer to a Glasnow type of deal. Now, Glasnow was because of his injury history, not his inconsistencies, but because of that, what did you say? Glasnow was 5 for $137.
Yeah.
I think the Cubs would go there. I think they go there. I mean, that's less than $30 million a year.
Yeah, it is.
And then the other part, the huge part of this, which I think you're going to get to this week, forgive me if I'm wrong, is the Imanaga side, right? What do they do with Shota? If they reject that option, and I believe it would be $19 million for next year and figure out what they're going to do, then that really does open up the budget for a starter. But there's so many things we could go.
That's a good point.
But you could also comment and say, well, I think they need more bats. And if you're going to spend $28 million on Dylan Cease next year, what do you do with the bats? I personally just feel like they feel really good internally about Ballesteros and Casey and whatnot and those guys and just want to get pitching. And just following up on what I said, which we could talk about, we had Steele on the show for Friday. He basically talked about how he might be on a pitch limit when he comes back, but he to me, reading in between the lines, it was, hey, I got to get myself to be at my best down the stretch. If he's at his best down the stretch with Horton, with Boyd, with Cease, with Tyone, now you're starting to have a little bit of a vibe to you, and you don't have to look too far. If you go watch the World Series, I mean, Yamamoto, Gausman,
absolutely,
starting pitching might be making a little bit of a return. So I don't know. It's exciting, but your case is hard to argue.
I'm trending towards loading up on starting pitching. I still want to dig into the third base position and DH/right field, what they could do. But right now, as I sit here, I think starting pitching is probably the way to go if they're going to go big. All right, let's follow up on the rotation ranking. If they brought in a guy like this, also why the rotation needs a guy like this in the first place, and later some more targets besides Cease. There's a lot of good ones. Stay tuned.
This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA is back. Matt was just talking a little Bulls before we got on the air, and there's no better place to get into the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Now, folks, I gave out a really bad play on Thursday, and I apologize for those who took it. I actually had a pretty good Sunday afternoon. I had the Ravens -6.5 because I took that before Lamar was ruled out, and they still covered with their backup because the Bears don't have a very good football team, and I took Houston. However, I took the Browns and publicly said that that's unacceptable for me, and my apologies. I'll be better moving forward. Also have Pittsburgh tonight at +3.5. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA.
Shout out to the everydayers. You can become a Locked On Cubs everydayer by joining us for every episode throughout the week. All right, I do think the Cubs have to acquire a starting pitcher this offseason who strikes people out. Not to mention Dylan Cease, ranked third in 2025 in fastball velocity with an average fastball of 97.1. FM The Drive. Congratulations to them for winning Marconi for best rock station of the year. But the Cubs rotation just had the third lowest fastball velo in baseball, Sam, and they struck out only 20% of batters. So is that where your claim about them rising up the rotation ranks lies? Because this is a rotation that for some time now has lacked these things. And I think it's time. It's time to get someone like this. And we've seen both because of the regular season and especially the playoffs.
It's that plus. So I'm going to add to that plus. What was the biggest bugaboo, would you say, for this starting rotation this year besides lack of strikeouts, right? I'll go rhetorical. Lack of availability, right? You had Steele out for the year. You had Imanaga missed significant time. Boyd stayed healthy throughout the whole year, but faded, and you're a little bit worried about him next year. I think that's just an easy opinion to have. J-Mo missed time, I think, 2 separate times. Let me read you Dylan Cease games started since 2021. Ready?
No, he hasn't missed one.
32, 32, 33, 33, 32. That type of availability with his ability to get whiffs and strike out guys just, to me, fills what this rotation's missing, which is swing and miss, whiff ability, high velocity, as you mentioned, and availability. And for that, I think it is a little bit of a safer long-term investment if he continues to make 30 starts a year, which is just, it's a rarity these days.
No, the durability part of his game is a big reason why he's going to get, what would that be, 9 figures? I mean, he's going to clear that, I think, easily, and I think in the 130s is a good starting point we were talking about earlier. I like the diversity of the rotation. I think the depth chart looks okay right now, but you add velo, you add strikeouts, including swing and miss. Mm-hmm. It's that much better. And I think you become that much more potent of a rotation, of a staff in general. And then, of course, as a team. And are we dealing from a position here? And I say we just in terms of, hey, do you and I start looking at the moves this offseason with a Dodgers lens? Like, are the Cubs that good
Great
where
point.
it's like, hey, this person, he could beat the Dodgers.
Mhm.
This person, he could hit a homer against Snell. This person can do that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't decided that. But Cease would be someone with the Dodgers lens. I mean, not even, it would, and then some.
And you also want to look at it from a Brewers lens. And
Well, you absolutely.
and look what beat the Brewers pretty handily.
Yes.
Just pitchers that were so dominant that they didn't even really compete offensively.
Yeah, no, you don't have to say pretty handily. Just say they got embarrassed, because that's what happened. They got 4 hits.
And when you look at the Dodgers so far, granted, as we record, it's 1-1. I know Ohtani had the 3-homer game, but it hasn't really been much about their offense at all. It's been Snell, Yamamoto, Ohtani, and Glasnow just dominating, and the Blue Jays put a stop to Snell in game 1. But then in game 2, Yamamoto threw a complete game. And so my point is, and Cease doesn't go that deep. My point is you're seeing it exactly the way I'm seeing it. Maybe the way to even the playing field is to just have 5 dudes that could just go into Dodger Stadium or go into Milwaukee and just say, you're not scoring more than 2 or 3. So let's see what happens. And you start dreaming of Cade and Cease and Steele and Boyd and whoever. And again, I mean, some of those guys, Boyd struggled towards the end, but then adding a guy like Cease allows Boyd to have some time off and maybe skip a start 2 or 3 times a year. And so, I think, and after listening to Jed's presser post game, I mean, it really feels like defense run prevention is where he wants this identity to be. And you start reading between the lines. And again, it does make sense. But to your really good point in the first segment, to go get great players, you're going to have to compete. You're going to have to spend. And it does scare you that a team like the Mets coming off maybe outside of the Braves, the most disappointing season, and the Orioles in baseball, they're going to be aggressive.
And the Cubs' reluctance to sign players who receive a qualifying offer.
Right.
Which Cease is going to get 3 minutes, 3 minutes into the free agency.
Right.
Okay.
Man, that stuff is just,
yeah, it is annoying.
It is. It's annoying.
So going over the current depth chart, would you like to do it with Imanaga and Ray, who the Cubs have options on, or without, or both?
I think whatever you lean towards, because I think you probably have a better pulse than I do on the Imanaga situation, because I have no idea what's going to happen.
Well, you're stating some of the reasons that I think they're going to bring him back.
Yeah.
Which is basically to build in as much certainty as you can, especially in this 1-year window.
But can't they bring him back at a lower price by rejecting that team option and just doing like a 1-year whatever?
I need to look into that. I think it would be...
I'm pretty sure they have a 3-year 57 option on him. If they decline that, then I think he has a 1-year 15 that he could opt into if he wants.
Yeah.
And then if he rejects that, then it becomes a free agency. I think that's how it goes.
You could give him a qualifying offer too, which would be about $22 million.
And I've never seen a more complicated contract ever.
I know. Yeah. So I'll do my best to break that down later this week.
Yeah.
Just kind of going slow through that.
1-year 15 for Shota, I'd be fine. I wouldn't give him 20 plus though. Not even for one.
Wow. Even though this is such a pivotal year, especially before baseball leaves us. You got all those guys in their walk year?
Yeah, you might be right.
I think Colin Ray is like a slam dunk to come back on his option.
But I just know that the Cubs are on such a strict budget, and $20 million for them is a lot.
Okay, but I'm saying it right now, and I know the everydayers are with us. This is the year to go over the luxury tax. If I hear strict budget again, I'm out.
Okay. But they are.
Sam, the sport's going to change
immensely,
aggressively.
drastically,
Why wouldn't they go over the last year the luxury tax? Why wouldn't they just go over it?
Well, I think they are going to go over it, but I don't.
This might be the last year of the tax.
I don't think they're going to spend $270 though, $260.
Well, then 249, 250.
Yeah, all right. You're right. All right.
But it's okay to pressure them a little bit.
If we pressure them every day. I mean, I wish
I'm just reiterating.
Why can't they go negotiate with Schwarber?
No idea.
Ohtani seemed like a pretty good fit.
All right, let's say they bring Imanaga and Ray back.
Okay. Sorry.
Then you have 8 people who could start. That's
I think
a
the
lot.
Bears got quarterback wrong again.
No, don't squeeze that in 20 minutes.
Drake May looks unbelievable. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, he is on the short list of MVP candidates, right? May?
Yeah, he was. They could have had him.
Steele, Horton, Boyd, Tyone, Shota, Ray, Assad, and Brown.
Yep.
Plus a starter of impact, plus an Aaron Savali or someone. That's 10 guys.
Mm-hmm.
That makes me feel good. It does.
And I had on my notes to ask Steele about Wiggins. We never got to it.
And Wiggins would be 11, right?
Yeah. I wonder if he'd be in that realm or is he a trade candidate? You know what I mean? Wiggins. I don't know.
Way, right.
No, it's just strong, but it's strong.
Well, and maybe they trade Wiggins for one of the guys we're going to bring up next. Free agent and trade targets besides Dylan Cease right after this.
This episode is brought to you by Game Time. The NFL season is back, and honestly, there's nothing better than being in the stadium surrounded by fans cheering on your team. But let's be honest, getting tickets can be a hassle. Between queues, login screens, and prices jumping at checkout, it's frustrating. That's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. Game Time is fast, easy, and backed by the Game Time guarantee. You always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included, so the price you see is the price you pay. I pulled up Game Time, and in just a couple taps, I saw amazing deals. I'm talking about your favorite NFL games as low as $100. The app made it super simple. I could even see the exact view for my seat before buying. So please download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today.
Make sure you're subscribed to Locked On Cubs on your preferred audio platform or YouTube. That way you don't miss any of the great Cubs content we've got for you. All right, let's do free agency first and the trade markets. The other top-tier names in free agency besides Cease are a pair of lefties, Sam, Ranger Suarez and Framber Valdez.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Cubs are basically non-factors for them. They're lefty. That might be a reason. Price range. And with Valdez character, I don't think there's a catcher in baseball that wouldn't be at least skeptical of him right now. I do think you have an intriguing second tier, though, with these 3 names. And really, we could probably spend the rest of the segment just on this trio. And that's Jack Flaherty, Michael King, and Shane Bieber. And I mean, you're at first blush, you see, I'm getting the sense that doesn't intrigue you, actually.
Well, I just would like to, for once, just go with the top tier of guys. I'll add one more thing with Valdez. I'm not sure the Cubs want to spend super heavy on a sinker baller when Wrigley's playing the way that it is.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just they have enough bat to ball skills. They have enough guys that bat to ball skills. They have enough guys that pitch to contact is what I meant to say. They have guys that get ground balls. I want more whiffs. And don't be wrong, Valdez strike. I mean, he's a fantastic pitcher, but you know what I mean? I just think that could be a tie break between him and Cease. Who'd you say? You said Flaherty, Michael King, and who?
Shane Bieber. I think Cease's teammate King intrigues me the most of those 3.
For sure, out of those 3. But to me, you just mentioned a list of 9 or 10 names that we feel pretty good about depth-wise. Yeah. So I think if you're going to add a starter, let's add more quality over quantity. type. So like if you're going to add,
Absolutely.
just go get one. But a lot of this, and I'm not just saying this because he was on, I think a lot of this depends on Steele. It really does. Like, and like, when does he come back? How effective is he early? Because this is a guy, before I interviewed him, I was going over his numbers and stuff. Like, this is a guy, when he pitches, you've mentioned this. You're talking about like a top 15, 20 pitcher in baseball.
He's really good.
Since he's been there. So how long is it going to take for him to get there? How confident are the Cubs in that?
Good question. Because
I think that really depends on how aggressive you go numbers-wise in free agency for a pitcher,
I don't think it should, but I get what you're saying.
Oh, yeah, but it will.
Yeah. Well, then maybe these 4 names are really
Kings
the most
is fun.
intriguing.
King's fun. That's a fun name.
Yeah, I mean, 2.5 ERA with almost 30% strikeout rate his first 10 starts.
Mm-hmm.
And then he went to the IL, which was an IL trip that basically ended his whole year.
And do you know what happened to him?
I don't have that in front of me. I'm sorry.
I'll look it up. Just want to make sure it's not like an elbow. I don't think it was.
Are you willing to go 4 or 5 years on King, who looked like a clear number 2 before the injury?
Yes.
Maybe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. In fact, if you could go, I mean, let's just do it right now. Would you rather go
Please.
5? Would you rather go 5 for 120 on King, or 5 for 140, 150 on Cease? I'd probably take the former.
Wow. Yeah, that's telling.
Maybe I'm
and then we got these targets that we heard over the summer that I think we'll hear about again starting next month.
Yeah, more
Joe Ryan. Actually, there's already some smoke with him, which is encouraging.
Trades, right?
Yeah, trades. Sandy Alcantara, who ended the season really strong after just a complete blow up to begin his year. Edward Cabrera and Mackenzie Gore. And one of those names still fits the bill, right? Of sliding in between Steele and Horton has clear impact to me.
I think all of them but Alcantara.
Wow. But even though he finished the year well.
Matt,
I know he had an ERA of 7 around the deadline, but his ERA was in like the high 1s his last 6-7 starts.
I would still be very, very cautious. And I mean, it depends what the deal is. Like, I think we learned last year. We learned last year that trades is probably the easiest option for the Cubs to go because hopefully you don't leave the show, but because of their budget constraints.
Would you trade Casey for Alcantara?
Yeah, it's a great question.
Okay. I'm trying to win a World Series now. I'm done with the ticky tack stuff. This is the year.
Wow. Would I trade Casey for Alcantara? That's such a brilliant question.
Okay, we're not going to have a sport in 15 months, and we're worried about a budget.
Yes, you're right. I would.
Okay.
I would take the risk on a guy that could throw 100 miles an hour that has that ability.
I've done a lot of reflecting the last week, and they need to go big, okay?
I think Joe Ryan would be like the perfect fit.
Well, that'd be insane, yeah.
So what would that cost? Could you make that trade without giving up Horton? Like, would Wiggins?
Yes.
Would Wiggins and Casey do that?
No, but they would be in it.
Okay.
And you may have to trade Matt Shaw and
well, why can't they just go get a guy in free agency?
Well, they can. What's preventing them besides their own self-imposed restrictions?
Well, because the self-imposed restriction is by the guy that runs everything. Okay, what prevents me tomorrow?
I understand.
What prevents
but that's
me
on him.
What prevents me tomorrow from not doing my job? Well, my boss. He prevents that. And so when the boss says, "Hey, Jed, you can't do that," that's a problem.
Absolutely. Okay, just get Cesar King then.
Yeah, but if you're going to make a deal and that's the route you have to go, those are some really, really intriguing options.
Not to mention, Pete Alonso would look good as the DH. Mm-hmm. You still want to bring back Tucker? At least I do.
Yeah, we'll have to do a show about. Yeah, we'll have to do a show about that.
Yeah, that'll be a big show.
I just don't think the Cubs have a chance.
Maybe that's next Monday. Monday's a pretty.
I mean, I've already heard the Dodgers want him. So if they want him, what are the Cubs going to do?
Right, it's kind of a moot point then.
Yeah, if the Dodgers are gonna give him 220 and the Cubs are sitting there waiting to do a Bellinger type deal, I mean, just not gonna happen.
Fresh out, yeah.
That's it's like me betting on the Browns.
All right, our first rumor show of the year is in the books.
That was intense.
This is Locked On Cubs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. For your second listen, find Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, till a World Series champion is crowned. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. We'll be back tomorrow. He's Sam Olber. I'm Matt Cozy. This is Locked On Cubs.
Go Cubs.